Hello everyone, welcome to Power Hour. Our topic today is the Copilot Studio, and you can create copilots, which are bots previously known as Power Virtual Agents and bots. So actually they're called copilots now, not bots. So, all right, let's go ahead and do the stinger. All right, so if you're new to Power Hour, this is something that we do Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've been doing this for about 10 years. This is Joelle Jobson. I'm Laura Rogers, Microsoft MVP, and our company is IW Mentor. We do online training, but we love having these little free training sessions on Wednesdays. So this is really geared towards business users and power users, not necessarily super technical. So we're not developers. We're not going to go into anything super technical. So we also have a live chat going on. So hey, everybody in the chat, we chat in teams. If you are watching this, you'll have a little link below to request to join the chat. We manually invite everyone into Teams. So hey, everybody in the chat. And we're going to go into Copilot Studio and kind of show you a few things about some new things with AI that you can do in there, and kind of some of the magic that happens and the way some things work. We'll talk about just basic functionality. This is really like an intro/overview video. So we're not going to go too deep into anything super technical, but we're going to kind of have an idea of what everything is and where it is. And Joelle's going to be giving me a lot of help today because she's been working in Copilot Studio and doing demos a lot more than I have. Joelle, didn't you do a Copilot session this past Saturday at an event in Atlanta? How did that go?
Yeah, I was at the Atlanta Cloud Conference, and it went really well. Yeah, it was mostly about Copilot, and then we talked a little bit at the end about Copilot Studio. But it was fun to there was a lot of enthusiasm, and we had a really good discussion, and I think I talked about licensing at one point and had to make sure there was no Microsoft people in the room, and we had a good laugh about that. So, but yeah, it was a good session.
Great. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So you covered Copilot like as a concept. So because you have Copilot in Power Apps, Copilot in Power Automate, Copilot, the actual license that you purchase, which isn't the same thing as those. And that's the one that's got it in Word and PowerPoint and all those Office products and Teams. Yeah. And then Copilot Studio is something completely different because Copilot Studio is the one that used to be Power Virtual Agents. So just in case you've never tried out Copilot Studio or heard of it, the point of it is to have a bot on your website, a bot where people can arrive on your website and ask the bot questions. So the point of it is to publish it to a website, and then you're going to be building basically what you think the questions are that people are going to be asking, and what are the answers it's going to give. So in the past, when it was Power Virtual Agents, it was pretty time consuming, right? You had to sit there and think of all the possible questions people would ask, and you had to kind of build out this little tree hierarchy of kind of different branches of yes, no, and the way people answered. You had to define every single thing and where the conversation would go. But now now it's Copilot Studio, they've added a lot of AI in here. So it's a lot easier and more approachable to be able to build your bots and build your topics. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and get everything situated here. I'll show, let's see, let me show that. Okay, first of all, here is Teams where we're chatting. Once you get invited, you'll be in this Power Hour Teams, and we go to the general channel here, and you go to today's dates, and that's where you can watch the YouTube video and also chat with us with this little chat bubble. So hey, everybody, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining. And also we have this Notes tab here. So in the Notes tab, that's where I've started doing this the last few episodes to that's where we keep all the reference, the resource material. So Copilot Studio, we have a lot of resource material that I've been collecting. We have an overview from Microsoft of just that's in Microsoft Learn of kind of what Copilot Studio is, what it entails. There is a cool bot sharing gallery that exists in the Power Platform community. Some of these people actually created bots that you can download, and they're solutions that you would install as solutions in your Power Platform in your own tenant. And then there is this cool interactive cards concept. So it's not new. It was already in there in Power Virtual Agents, but again, one of those things they made a little easier with AI. You can build interactive cards. So that's the reference on how to do that. Audrey Gordon is a friend of mine that works at Microsoft. She's awesome, super smart. She's super into Copilot Studio, and she's been creating videos about Copilots. She has a couple that, just a couple of the most recent ones that I've been watching about. This one that I show here in the link is one where she created a Copilot for like a virtual chess club that she was in. So it's kind of showing that as a cute little example. And then thanks to whoever just added another link, Copilot's official YouTube channel is in there. And then did you do that? How to add a Copilot Studio bot in SharePoint. And that is a lot of steps and very developer-y. Is that a technical term, developer-y? So Devi, yeah. So that's where you can find all the resources for the things that we'll be talking about. So let me go ahead and share my screen and go to, so where you can go is, I've got all these tabs open. You can go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com. And this is, I just had a trial, so I just clicked to extend my trial, but it makes me think that it's not free. I don't know anything about licensing, but I'm just in a trial here. Now anything that you created when it was Power Virtual Agents is still going to be in here. So for example, I have this demo that I created that I did at a conference with this bot that I created for a store. So it's still here. Everything's just called something different. It's called Copilot Studio. Instead of bots, they're called copilots. And so, but a lot of the other terminology is similar. So what you have here are these different copilots, and each copilot is something that you can publish. So we'll talk about how to build it and what it entails. I'm not sure if this one's got SharePoint as a data source, so I don't know if it's gonna let me publish it, but I could try. I'll publish it before I start talking about it, so potentially people can be able to try it out. But I'm not sure if they're going to, because I have SharePoint as a data source, I'm not sure if it's going to let you try it out, even though you all are in my tenant. So we'll just see. So when I'm creating, so the first thing you're going to create are the copilots, and each copilot is something that you're going to be able to publish to a website. So that's going to be the sort of place where the users go to interact and ask the bot questions. So you can create different bots, but technically you could just create one bot and have a lot of different topics in that bot. So within a bot, that's kind of the next level to go down, is like this HR department bot that I created. Within each bot, you have topics and plugins. So the topics is this main concept of conversations that people might be having with the bot. So for example, there are a lot of them that are demos that are in here already. But for example, like I created this check HR ticket status, and I'll just turn that back on. And then with the check HR ticket status, that's going to be, pretend we're the HR department and people are, coming to ask HR questions. You might have an HR ticket database where they want to go figure out the status of their, of their ticket. And then it will just, you define what the different questions are that it's going to ask. And so a lot of just the little things in here in lots of different places have AI built in. Joelle, can you talk about what this generative AI concept is that they have in here? What does that mean?
Yeah, I can. I'm not a AI expert by any means, but I can kind of explain it in like the terms that I would understand it. So basically, in the past, like you were saying, where with Power Virtual Agents, and then when it was first Copilot Studio before Generative AI came in, you would like have to manually build everything, right? You'd have to manually build your topics and your branching conversation and all that kind of stuff, just like you were talking about. And so generative AI is essentially putting in a data source, and currently that would be like a SharePoint site. I think it even says like a OneDrive URL. You could do that as well. And then I think you could also, like we were talking about earlier before the call, we were talking about how you can actually upload documents too. So basically, you would give it a SharePoint URL, and then it would be able to go out to that SharePoint site and very quickly, I mean, like very quickly, within seconds, analyze everything on that SharePoint site and then be able to answer questions about content on that SharePoint site. So that could include documents and page content, that kind of thing.
Thanks. Okay, so that's the concept of generative AI in here. Just real quick, kind of going through what some of the things that you see down the left side. I talked about topics; those are kind of the different types of conversations you might be having. And again, back in the old days, you had to go through a lot of work building these, but they have a lot of dynamic information now that you can do. Entities are going to be sort of like a little database with pieces of information. So it's got like sort of like a little pre-built pieces of data. So you have things like country or region, continent. So country or region is going to have, theoretically, you'd have a whole list of countries just built, and that's not going to change very often, right? So if you need to have somebody questions and answers having to do with countries, this is what you could reference. And then you have money with sort of different denominations of money, different types of money, and just numbers, percentages, speed. So it's kind of calculations and things like that. So it comes with a lot of built-in ones. Now, when you create an entity, like you can have this closed list, which is where you're just creating like a hard-coded list. Like if you have, in this example, a list of sizes. Again, it's not dynamic. It's not going to be changing a lot, but it's going to be just static in there. And then it lets you use regex to be able to define like a logical pattern. Like you saw, some of these are like percentage and money and things like that. So this is what would let you define those. So that's how you can create entities. Analytics really just gives you information once you've started using your bot. Of course, I just created some of these. They're not going to have too much information, but analytics is where it's going to be giving you information about how it's going with your bot. It's got escalation, abandonment. So think about like a big call center, or you have, a whole call center full of people answering questions about IT tickets or HR tickets or customers visiting your website. And then you'd be able to look at a lot of really good statistics about how that's going. And I'm curious in the chat if you work at companies, like big companies that are going to have things like that would need this sort of concept, or if you've actually got any built in your company. So I'm curious, you could kind of just chime in and let us know, give us some feedback on how useful this would be in your company or in your industry. I'm curious about kind of what industries you all are in, to be able to think about how this could potentially be used in your company and how helpful it could be to make your call center more efficient. So this is some really good detailed analytics about how those sessions are going, how those conversations are going within there. Joelle, I know you've been working a lot, like I said, a lot with this, more than me. The Extend Microsoft Copilot, I know that's brand new stuff. Have you tried? Do you know what that is all about? Conversational plugins.
Yeah, I've heard, I haven't tried it, but I've heard a little bit about just like some of the plugins that they were putting in there.
Yeah, I tried.
So I think some of it's like language and stuff like that.
Yeah, I tried doing some of this, and it is pretty buggy because it's in preview. So I feel like this is one of those things that I am gonna just kind of leave it alone for now and wait till it's a little bit more more fully baked, but I did create a couple of these. So I created a couple of these AI plugins. Now, the thing about these AI plugins that I created is that I didn't necessarily incorporate it into anything yet. So we can show you how these different pieces today get incorporated into those chats that you're having. So I'll get back to these AI plugins. What I want to show you first is an actual bot, Copilot that we created with company policies. So, and kind of show you how this functions and show you what that interface looks like. So Joelle created a bunch of fake company policies. I'll bet you used Copilot to create those. Yeah, she created a bunch of fake company policies. So let me go back to my overview here. And I've got this, let's see, Copilot's, my policy chat. So here's what we did to create this. It was really, really simple. It was like 3 clicks. So you do new Copilot, and I'll just say policy chat 2. And then all you do here is put your website in here. So I think, yeah, there it is right there. So I read online when I was researching this that with the SharePoint site or OneDrive, it's a good idea to just leave the HTTPS off the front. So I did that, and you just click create. So it's just very, very simple. So when you do this, when your data is in SharePoint, you are going to have to set up a bunch of authentication. So it's very, very technical, a lot of steps to go through in Azure to set up the way that people are going to be authenticating, passing their credentials to this bot. So I did not do that. I didn't want to dig into, hours of technical details and it costs extra money too. It costs like $200 to purchase that. Is that what you said, Joelle? Something like that?
Yeah, so it's something to consider because we know that like it's $30 per user for like regular, like just Copilot, which has the built-in Copilot bot. And this is $200 per month, but that's not per user. That's just for 25,000 messages. So, I mean, there could be a situation where that might actually make sense because it would be cheaper than just like buying everybody Copilot. It would be to create these like bots and put them out there.
That's a great point. So you could have
yeah.
Yeah, and so instead of purchasing the actual full Copilot license for all the users in your company, you want them to just have this specific thing where they can go ask questions about company policies. You can just create this bot, pay $200, and not pay like thousands and thousands of dollars depending on how many users you have, because that is a per user license. Yeah, that's a great point. I like that.
Yeah,
so
the
we're going to try it out.
Copilot.
Do what?
I was just saying because the one built-in like Copilot that you get with the Copilot license can also answer questions like this like really well without having to make a bot.
Yeah.
But again, like it's like a cost kind of, looking at the cost and kind of seeing which one makes the most sense.
Yeah, when you have Copilot, when you are a user that has a Copilot license, in Teams you actually have another button up here in Teams where you can go in and it'll say Copilot, and then you can just ask it whatever you want about whatever files anywhere in your entire tenant. So then you wouldn't need something like this necessarily. But so this is just specifically pointing at, so this is what I gave it. I pointed it at my human resources SharePoint site. So here's what the main a lot of this is just kind of a template where I created this home page. So it doesn't have a lot of content in it. If you ever want to go look at what content is in a SharePoint site, you just go to site contents. And I can see that mostly what's in here is policies. So this is where all the little fake company policies are. And this is where I want end users to be able to come to this bot and just ask it some questions about the company policies. And it's just going to tap into this set of files. Really cool. It's going to basically everything on this whole SharePoint site is going to be fair game for you to ask questions about. So you have multiple libraries. If you have 1,000 files or whatever's in there, that's what we're asking about. So I can say like, what is the dress code? And so it says the dress code policy for this company is outlined in the Contoso dress code document. Blah, 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 blah. It creates guidelines for appropriate attire. So it's showing me kind of a summary here, maybe I can zoom in a little. There we go. Hopefully y'all can see that a little better. Basically, it's just got a summary of the document, and it's got an actual link to the, I don't know why it has two different ones. Maybe we have two dress codes in there. But that's where it's kind of letting me know and giving me a link to click on. So that's all it's going to do. So this is the actual, if you know, as we're testing it, we can kind of see all this built in. This little tree here, I didn't have to build this. Like, it just built this. All I did to create this bot was give it that website. So it created this whole little tree structure here, which is usually in the past is something that you had to create manually. So let's go see if I've got health and safety. Let's see. I was thinking of like a specific question that I want to ask it. So I'll ask it if we have health and safety training at our company. So that's what I'll ask it. Hopefully y'all can see that down there. I think it's behind my head almost, but there. So I just said, do we have health and safety training? And it says, yes, we have health and safety training available, blah, blah, blah. Employees and contractors of Contoso are responsible participating in health and safety training and awareness. And then it gives me a link to the health and safety. And that creating that bot was like 2 clicks. So this is huge. This is really powerful, the fact that it's just using AI to tap into that whole set of files. I'm curious about what y'all think about that. That's... Can the bot be on our SharePoint intranet? Yeah, oh yeah. That's where you're talking about how painful it is to install it. Yeah. You used to be able to publish these to Teams, and that functionality does not exist anymore. Okay, so that's just the test Copilot that taps into the documents and taps into whatever SharePoint site you give it. And again, this is what it has kind of out of the box as far as what is built in. So the trigger is just going to be the fact that somebody, you know, starts talking to the bot. And then this action that it's going to use is called create generative answers. And create generative answers is where it's just saying, all right, well, here's the SharePoint site. So that's its data. And that's where it's going to get its answers. So you don't have to know anything else specific about it. And then it's just, okay, moving on, all other conditions in current topic. So that's it. Like, there isn't really anything in there, and you don't need to modify this at all. I'll go ahead and go, let's see, new messages. Let me see what everybody's saying. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So people are asking about, yeah, they are definitely easier to build, Pam. But yeah, and if you have something specific like this that you want to provide to people, like Joelle said, you could just create a Copilot that points to just one SharePoint site, and then let people ask questions to that. Especially if it's just a site that everybody has access to. But maybe your HR site has a ton of information. It's got information about benefits. It's got all the policies. It's got, you know, your 401k. It's got like everything you can think of around HR is in this site. Then it just points to the site, and just people ask it whatever questions that they want. I wonder if we have anything about the 401k in our policies, Joelle. Let's see. No, we didn't put anything about benefits in here. So these are just policies. All right, so let's go back to topics. So those are the topics. That's just the built-in topics. So let's go back to Copilots here. What did Joel say? Oh, the notes. So if you're asking about the notes, when you go to the tab here, this is where I put all the notes for all the different power hours, and I don't know why it's not rendering, but it's in there.
Yeah, I just added, we were talking about if they want to authenticate, like be able to, like if they buy a license and then they want to be able to like have the proper authentication for the SharePoint generative AI, there's the two links that are like a 2-step process of like how you set that up so that's properly secured. And those are the links I just added out there.
Okay, thanks. Um, I have another good just sort of reference. So I think I pasted this in the notes too, but this is a really good sort of explanation. It's a Microsoft slide. I think I actually got this off of one of Audrey Gordon's videos because she works at Microsoft, so she has all the cool splashy Microsoft slides. But this one sort of explains all the different pieces of like the plugins, the generative AI, channel publishing, analytics and insights, and just kind of what, because I mean, this is a huge product. So all we're really doing today is really just sort of scratching the surface, because this is kind of like, it's almost like SharePoint, where you could spend hours and hours and hours learning all the things there are to know about it. And like Dynamics is huge. I'm not saying this is as big as Dynamics, but it's just, there's a lot to it. So it's kind of starting to at least kind of explain what some of these concepts are. So when you first go into Copilot, it's kind of letting you know, it's giving you one of those little wizards that's letting you know that it's not Power Virtual Agents anymore, and it's letting you know about some of the new things that they added. So just by the way, you can add images and video now in your messages. Insert logic using equations. We kind of saw some of that, and build quickly with intelligent authoring, like we saw that too. And then it's just letting you know that you can add variations, images, videos, and quick replies. So the images and videos, I'm not sure. I mean, we could try that out. I'm not sure if that's like a real world business need to have images and videos, but maybe if you have like HR videos letting you know, like describing the company policies or something like that, maybe that'd be possible. So now I've showed you a couple of things. I showed you the policy chat that I did. I created like this HR department bot. This is an old one that I created when it was Power Virtual Agents. Let's just go through the process. We saw the very, very simple bot that we created that just looked at a SharePoint site, but let's go through some of the other things that you can do when you're building these. And look, a lot of this stuff is in preview. So you can see that the plugins are in preview, the prompts are in preview, the models are in preview. So yeah, I feel like maybe we'll have to have a power hour, Joelle, in like 6 months or so when the stuff's not in preview anymore, and really kind of, because it'll be a lot more polished then. So I feel like a lot of the stuff, when I start drilling into the preview products that are, all the stuff's brand new, it's a little awkward and clunky, and things are kind of buggy here and there, but we might wait and go a little deeper into some of that stuff when it gets more fully baked. So I'm going to give my Copilot a name. I'll just call it HR General. I don't know. HR questions. So this time I'm not going to put a website. I'm just going to leave it alone. So a mistake that I have made that is, it's something that would be easily made, would be to type a website, click create, and then go in there and start messing with the bot that it creates for you. And that's what I did before. So that's what it really kind of just automatically works the way I just showed you with asking it company policy questions. Once you click create, it just works. So there really isn't anything you need to change in there. So that's why I'm not going to put that website in this one. We're going to do just a normal one that's not going to point at a specific site. But to me, it's sort of like you don't define specifically what the bot's going to say, because it's just looking at data, so you don't have as much control, I guess, over kind of what exactly the output is, but you hardly have to spend any time building it. So, all right, so here, this is what it looks like to create a new Copilot. And first, before I do this, I want to go see if that one that I created and published, I want to see if if people can even get to that. So I'm going to go get the link for that. It's like the cooking show. Like I published it and had to wait a few minutes for it to publish, and I'm going to go back to it. So this one, I think it's just saved. I'll go back to the other one and see if my policy chat got published. Published 21 minutes ago. Your published Copilot is good to go. And then it used to give you, let's see if it gives me, it used to give you just a hyperlink right here.
I think you go to channels.
Oh, channels right here. Okay.
And there's a
Oh, so these
link.
are
I thought
all
it
the
was,
different places you could publish it to.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, yeah, see, it says before you choose Teams authentication, only Teams channels available. So I didn't, all those authentication settings that we were talking about, and the fact that this is a SharePoint bot, it I did not set up the authentication. So this is kind of what I was wondering about, Joelle. I was wondering if how far it would let me get without going through all those steps to set up the authentication. So this is really interesting though. This screen, the channel is kind of a confusing concept because it's a different type of channel than like a Teams channel. So this is the channel in which your bot is going to be published. So it's giving you the fact that you could put it in Copilot. Now, like we were talking about, that could be a little redundant, right? Because Copilot already can see all your files and you can already just ask it about your files. So publishing a bot to Copilot, I guess if you had something like very, very specific that you wanted people to be asking about, maybe that would be a reason to do that. But these are all kind of the different places that it would let you publish it to for the users to be interacting with it. So if your users at your company use Teams a lot, or even if the people at your company use Slack a lot, or if you want to put this on your public website, that's where you would do that, and it would just give you a hyperlink and you would embed it on your website. So that's what the channels are. All right, let's go
Yeah,
back
and
to the
I
uh-huh.
think you're under a, just want to mention that you are under, I know you're using the free trial. But normally, like once you're out of the free trial, the Teams is not an option. So just an
Oh.
FYI,
Oh,
like
that is good to
for
know.
everybody. Yeah, like it shows up for you right now because you're in a free trial, but eventually it'll go away unless you pay.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That is important. Okay, so it's going to have built-in topics. There is, when you're creating a new Copilot, there is an option to, in like I think it's in the advanced options when you're creating it, to not create all the little test topics. But I went ahead and I let it create the test topics. So the topics are sort of like the different conversations, the paths of the conversation you're going through. These are those plugin actions that I was talking about. And then, so this one, I haven't really done anything. All it has is the built-in topics. So I'll click to create a topic. Now this is kind of fun. So this is the, I can create a description, create my topic with Copilot. So it's giving me some examples of some things that I can get it to do. Give it a name. Now so I'm going to kind of do this a different way. I was talking about company policies earlier, so we'll do just kind of something else, human resources related. I'll just put human resources on here. And then, so we're going to specify what we want the topic to do. And I had a few things copied to my clipboard that I was trying out that I need to go grab. Wow. I don't know where I put it. So you just pick the ones that are listed here. So you can say someone want to order a pizza. I'm kind of reading these to you because it might be very tiny. Accept a user's name, age, and date of birth, and then just repeat their responses back to them. Collect their street address, state, and zip code. And then I can view more examples. I love view more examples. Do you ever do this where you just go to Copilot or go to some AI program and you're looking for ideas for prompts? Like you can do this in Power Apps and Power Automate. You can just view more examples. So you could say you can let them check the status of a flight, ask them 3 multiple choice questions. I like creating a support ticket. So this can be like an HR support ticket. So it says create a support ticket, title, severity, description, and an email to send update notifications to. So support tickets seem like a huge, very common thing that people are going to want to do with Copilot, is have people to be able to go ask it an IT question or something like that. Like literally you could have AI know all the answers to, what if I get a blue screen of death, or what if my computer monitor is broken, or what if this software gives me this error, like specific things to your company too. So you could have it just kind of know how to help them right then without even necessarily having to talk to a human yet, like actually technically help them. So here it took the sort of just the prompt that I gave it, and it created this whole sort of little, a topic is sort of like a little workflow. So it created it for me. So again, it's saving me a lot of time by having AI do this part. So this got some phrases here. So phrases, since I called the bot human resources, it knows human resources can also be referred to as HR. So, and it also kind of knows a bunch of HR concepts. So it says human resources, HR department, benefits, job openings, policies, staff training. So AI just guessed at all these different things that people might ask. So, yeah. So those are my triggers. So the trigger means that's what somebody's going to be asking me. So I'm going to take that user response. Now this one doesn't have any variables to save the user response as. So a lot of the concepts, if you're familiar with Power Automate, a lot of these just technical concepts are going to be very common across these different products, like the concept of a variable. So a variable is just a little piece of information that it's storing temporarily as you go. Like in Power Automate, you can declare variables and use them throughout your flow. Variables, it's a similar concept in here. So I'm going to take the user's response. So I'm going to say, please provide a title. This is what it's asking them. Please provide a title for your support ticket. So it wants to take their title and then store that in a variable so it can use it later. So I'll just say, oh, and also it called it var1. So just like with Power Apps, and especially Power Automate, and even Word and PowerPoint, all the places that have Copilot, you have a Copilot panel down the right side here in Copilot Studio. So you can edit and I keep wanting to call it a flow. It's a Copilot, but it's like a little workflow. You can edit your workflow just by asking it to do things. So again, you don't have to know which nodes, kind of to select and what technically that you need to do in here. Just like in Power Automate, you can just kind of type a general idea of what you want it to do. So it does have this whole thing built out. It just doesn't have any variables set yet. So I'll just go ahead and say, give these variables names. It just called them var1, var2. I can go in there and rename them in the list of variables. I'll just do another var3, and then this is their email. I'm going to want to give them names like var email. And then it's got this message that it's going to be giving them to be able to kind of give them a summary of what the questions are that they're asking. So what we're going to do is, instead of using this message, I'll delete that. I'm going to, instead of clicking Ask with an Adaptive Card, I'm going to click away from here. And I'm going to say, summarize down here in the little examples for Edit with Copilot. I'm going to say, summarize the information gathered from the user in an adaptive card. So we've had a couple of different Power Hours where we've mentioned adaptive cards and talked about them. It is a little developer-y, but their technology now for editing adaptive cards has come a long way. So what it's doing here is, so if you're not sure what an adaptive card is, if you've ever used the approvals action in a flow where you get the little approval email, and it's got in the email, it's got like a little form built in, and it has the approve and reject buttons in the email, and even a little text box for a comment, and it's all just right there and sort of contained in a little form in the email. That's an adaptive card. So, and you can also have adaptive card in Teams. We've had a Power Hour about that, but this lets you build adaptive cards. So this one, let's see, now I'm going to ask it this question. So basically when I clicked on the example down here, all it did was put it in this box for me. So I just kind of click to confirm that that's what I want it to do. So it's going to build me an adaptive card. So this happens to me like multiple times. So this has happened to me over and over, and I just keep trying over and over, and then eventually it works. Not sure. It's all a little buggy. Okay. So it's going to look like this. And I learned this in Audrey's video. So credit to Audrey, the one that I mentioned at the beginning. And there's a link to her videos in the notes. So Audrey showed me this in her video. So when you're building an adaptive card, it's going to look like a mess when you first build it. So I'm going to go to the properties of this card, and it's because it puts in this edit formula by default. Now, she said this is a bug, so it makes me think that this is something they're going to fix, but it puts it in this JSON format, but it doesn't put it in the JSON editing sort of mode. So I'm going to take this whole thing and just copy it to the clipboard and switch over to JSON. And it's going to wipe out everything that I put in there, but that's fine. And I click continue, and then I take what I just copied to my clipboard now that I'm editing JSON, and I can even maximize this and put it in the middle of the screen and paste it. Now, since it pastes in one big line, you can actually right click here on the interface and choose Format Document. And that puts it in a nice, pretty JSON format. So the problem is now that it's got a bunch of just hard-coded pieces of information here. It's just in quotes, so it's not dynamic data. So what I realized is that, so I started trying to kind of put dynamic data in here. What I realized is that you have to switch it back to formula. So you put it on edit JSON to kind of get it in JSON format and get it nice and neat down the page, but then you have to switch back to formula so that you can put little dynamic pieces of data in it. So now it's a formula. It's kind of weird looking, but so I've got these variables that it asks. Now I'm going to be putting the dynamic data in this adaptive card from the variables that it asked me. So these variable names that it has are not going to do. I need to know specifically what each of these pieces of data are. And you know, this is one of those things that I talk about a lot, like having good naming conventions for things. So I'm not going to let it use var1234. I'm going to do it properly and go and give these better names. So as it asks each question, it's just putting it as a variable. So I'm going to go to my variable, and where are my variables? Oh, here they are. There's a whole little variables panel. So in Flow, you have to go edit each one individually. But here in Copilot Studio, you can just go to the variables panel and be able to see them all and edit them. So I'll just call this, the question was title. And then, okay, now that one's called title. Close that, go back to variables. And then the next question is going to be the severity. All right, now that one's saved. And then the next one is variable 3 is description. Sorry, this is kind of tedious. And then variable 4 is the email. Now, if you're authenticating, if you have your whole authentication set up, you're going to know who the person is. You're not going to have to ask their email address. So, all right, so now I've got my variables named properly. And so now when I go to insert them into this message, I'll be able to have, see, it's just got it in here as text. I'll be able to have better data and have it make sense. So it's going to say, I'm going to wipe out this whole thing. So for every one of these pieces of data, when you're building an adaptive card, it's going to put it in text for you, but you can just wipe out everything, quotes and everything, and you can type topic. So this is where I was trying to do this. I still had it in JSON format up here, and I was trying to do this and nothing was coming up. So that's why I had to switch it back to the edit formula. So I'm going to say topic dots. And then that's where, look, it just gives me the names of my variables. So that's my dynamic data that I can insert. So I'll say title and then topic.severity. Does this make sense? Joelle, is there anything important, any burning questions I need to tackle? Okay. And then the last one is email. All right, so let's see what that looks like. It still looks pretty funky. Let's try it out. Again, this is another one of those things that looks like it mostly works, but yeah, I'm not sure. All right, so the questions are going to be about employee benefits. I'll put benefits. And this is the testing panel if I didn't establish that. So this is as you're building your bot, you can just keep testing it, and you could just refresh it to clear it out. Now, so what I did, okay, so I'm asking it here, please provide a title for your support ticket. So you'll be able to see it going down the tree, going down all the questions. So I'll just call it blue screen, BSOD, blue screen of death. And then it's going to go to the next question, and that's going to be the severity. So since it's a multiple choice, you can just have them click something. And then a description, computer, oops, is broken. Don't know what to do. Has anybody here worked on a help desk before? All right, and then email address. My little fake email address. And so it just walks you through. Oh, look how cool that is. So the adaptive card, it doesn't show here in the interface, but it shows in the there in the, you know, in the testing, in the bot. So let me see if I can take this, and I'm going to save my bot, and I want to publish this and see if you all can try this out. So it really doesn't go to any data, doesn't look for anything in a database or anything, but at least it kind of gives you an idea of a few of these concepts and how to make an adaptive card work. But also there are a lot of adaptive card concepts. Let me publish it first before I go on about adaptive cards. Human resources, oops, and publish, sorry, publish. When you're in a specific Copilot, you have like different things down this far left side than when you're at the very top level. So it's going to let you all try this out if you want to. All right, and then it says it's good to go. So then I go to my channels, and no, it's not letting me. Oh, let me see. Authentication. Let me just no authentication. I'll just do that because we don't have anything top secret in here. If you don't have anything top secret, just go ahead and publish it, and it doesn't matter. All right. So I'll go to channels now. Oh, see, look, see, I changed it to no authentication, and now it's just, you know, letting me have a URL. So here, I'll copy this URL to the clipboard and share it with you all in the chat. And if you try it out, then we'll be able to go look at the analytics and see, you know, how that went. So there it is. I pasted it in the chat. That's the little demo website that it builds for you. So I'll show you what it looks like if you're not in the chat. See, it's a little just fake, just demo website. And this is the exact, oh, look, it says, sorry, something unexpected happened. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But also when you're testing these, you can try out all, just before you add any topics, you can try out all these little fake topics that it creates for you with this lesson 1, a simple topic. Lesson 2, it's got a topic with conditions and variables. So all these topics are things that are built in, that those are just going to work as well. So if somebody asked me something about a store location, I'll clear this out before I start doing that. If the bot is working for you all on that website, you can actually ask it about some of these other things that are in the little test topics, like what store location you're in, and then it gives them an address, and then it kind of, you know, takes you down this path, and it shows you as it's going, the path lights up to show you what part of the path it went down, kind of like with Flow. Great. I love to rate my experience. So anytime you have, you want somebody to rate their experience, a lot of the times you'll just have, if that's a common thing you want to build into a lot of your bots, then that's just going to be a topic that you create. So then you can just say, instead of having to create an action to ask them to rate their experience, you just say, go to this topic. And then that way, all these little topics are predefined little paths that they can go down. And that's where you kind of just point them. So for example, let's go back to that one that we were just looking at with the simple topic with a condition and a variable. So this one at the end, it takes you to another. So at the end of the conversation, this topic doesn't have the give me a rating. It just takes you to another topic, and the topic is called end of conversation. So then you can just put the end of conversation topic at the end of all of your different topics. And then so it has all this stuff built in that's going to ask them about, do they have any other questions? And it gives them a rating. And it's got, if they were not happy, it's got a path that it goes down. So that's just like a sort of little pre-created thing that you can use. Okay, so let's go see in the human resources topic. So another thing about, I want to point out something else about the adaptive card is the adaptive card designer. And again, this is the same exact adaptive card designer that we've shown you before when we've done this in Teams. But this is a, if you're kind of like a power user, slightly can figure out code syntax person like me and Joelle, then we're not devs. But you know, I feel like I can take like a chunk of code that somebody gives me and be able to tweak it and make changes to it and figure out what's what. So here are a lot of these samples that they have. So you can learn a lot about how to do these by looking at the samples. So each one of these samples is going to have an example on the right of what that adaptive card is going to look like, and it's all the code. So you could take the code from these samples and paste it into your bot, and then be able to use that and just tweak it and put your dynamic data in it, like I showed you. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to see. So what I did was I created this. I know I've only got 5 minutes left. I created a.
Yeah, and the bot errored, so it's not.
Oh, it did.
Errored,
okay.
so.
Oh well. Maybe I didn't republish it after I changed the authentication. Maybe I need to do that. Oops, I'll try that real quick.
That might be what it is.
HR. Publish again. You'd think that would be what it was, but yeah. And we'll go look at the analytics if y'all are able to try it out. Oh, I can close the window. Okay, I'm going to close the window. Go back to some other things. This prompts thing is in preview, so this is pretty fun. So let me see. I was trying to create a prompt to, again, with this HR concept. A prompt is when you're using AI or you go to ChatGPT or you go to Copilot, the prompt is the thing that you're typing. And so there's kind of a whole art to it, right? And there's even AI art that you can build, and it's all about like all the kind of keywords and things that you use in your prompt to how it's going to build your art or how it's going to, give you a piece of information when you're using Copilot. But this is where you're actually building prompts. So this one said, I called it respond to an HR complaint. So what it's telling the bot to do is craft a response based on the input text. Since it's an HR complaint, we've got to be very sensitive, being mindful of its tone, content, and substance. The response should be courteous and show understanding, addressing all inquiries, blah, 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 blah. Should the message convey a grievance or unhappiness, express acknowledgement and readiness to help. So it's got all this built in kind of, could be sensitive issues that people are talking to this HR bot about with their complaint. So, but the fun thing is you can test it. So you can say like have a pretend HR complaint. So my coworker is wearing a cowboy hat. Or whatever. This is fun. Like whatever kind of fake HR complaint you can think of. I was making up a few yesterday, right, Joelle? Oh, it tells me something went wrong. It doesn't want to. Oh, it doesn't want to test it. Oh, it's no fun. It was working yesterday. Again, I'm not sure why. But it lets you test your prompt. So you put in where you want the input text to be. Let's see. Funny cloud of smoke in the office. I don't know. I have no idea if that's going to work. I'm not going to put the ones that I was typing yesterday. Appropriate. So, all right. So those are, again, this is all in preview. That's why it's not working, but it was working yesterday. So those are some prompts that you can define. And then, so these prompts, then you'd be able to incorporate those into when you're having the AI respond. I've got to go ahead and wrap it up. But so what kind of, in summary, what you saw today is a very high level overview of a lot of the concepts of what you'll be able to do with Copilot Studio, what the goal is, kind of what the purpose of it is, and then how they're building a lot of really cool AI in here, making it easier for you to be able to build your Copilots so that it's not as time consuming, and it's super powerful being able to tap directly into something like a SharePoint site or your own company website. So there, again, like we mentioned, there are a few things that are kind of not quite working correctly yet, but it's getting there. And so just kind of keep an eye on this and keep it in mind when you're thinking about things that you want to do at your company, like having a bot that people can ask questions, especially on a public website, if you have a call center, things like that. So thanks everybody for coming. And we have our free Power Automate week going on all week still this week. So if you go to iwmentor.com, there's a link to sign up right on the homepage. We've got 1,000 people now have signed up. It's a self-paced course. It's about 10 hours long, so come learn Power Automate. And the free course ends this Saturday. So thanks everybody for signing up so far, and good luck working through the classes. So thanks, Joelle, for all of your help with Copilot Studio. So let's see, I'll cut it back over there. All right. Okay, so thanks everybody for your participation. You can go to iwmentor.com and click on schedule at the top to see when the next Power Hour is going to be. And